Good evening, and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the Mayor and Council of October 21st, 2014. I hereby announce a request that such be included in the minutes of this meeting, that notice of the time, the place, and the date of this meeting has been prominently posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, mailed to the Times, the Courier News, the Alternative Press, the Patch, by January 10th, 2014, filed with the Borough Clerk and mailed to any person requesting the same in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. I would ask anyone that's here tonight to please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask that you remain standing as we have tonight's invocation read by Mrs. Eleanor McGovern, our Borough Administrator.
Tonight, as we stand together, we renew the oath we swore when elected and appointed to faithfully execute the office of Mayor, Council, and Municipal Clerk, and to the best of our ability to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and of the State of New Jersey. We ask you, Father, to give us wisdom, to give us patience to listen to those we govern, strength to help others, and the courage to do what is right. May your blessings rest upon us, and may we be filled with your Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay. So fall is here. It's October.
Exciting.
This leaves are changing.
Yeah,
Leaves are on
that's
the
what
ground
happens in fall.
after summer. Okay, may I have a roll call, please, Mrs. McGovern?
Kevin Morris,
Here.
Russell Hugo,
Present.
Tom Krantz,
Here.
Danny Levine,
Here.
Catherine Mitchell, here, Jack Molinar,
Here.
Colleen Horn.
Here. First on our agenda is the approval of several minutes of meetings that the mayor and council has had. One would be from last month, September 16th, minutes of our regular scheduled agenda meeting of October 7th, and a special meeting of October 7th. May I have a motion to move those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. We're going to start tonight off by one of our really our favorite things that we do here on a monthly basis is our Volunteer of the Month. So I'm going to go up to the podium. And I would really like to call up, really there's three individuals that are in the audience tonight that have been longtime stewards of our environmental well-being in this community, and they sit on our environmental commission. So I'd like to call up Margaret Chowdhury, Phyllis Sandrock, and I also like to call up Gary Zelk, who is the president, the commissioner for the Environmental Commission, the chairman of our Environmental Commission. And if you've been to Borough Hall recently, you may or may not have noticed that we recently constructed a rain garden. And we're going to talk a little bit about why having a rain garden on the borough property is so environmentally sensitive and environmentally smart at the same time. But these women, along with David Schwartzberg, who sits on the commission, who is unable to be here tonight, are our volunteers of the month. They should get it just for their longtime commitment to what you do to keep us environmentally sound. If you've gone to the Nature Center, if you know we have a butterfly garden, you can thank this group here. If on Earth Day, you can thank this group. You know, they're down at Fanwood Day. They're the ones that are really trying to fight back some of the erosion that's actually taking place right now at the Nature Center, which I want the council to pay a little bit attention to as we touch on this tonight, because there's something that's happening that really is putting our beloved 6-acre Nature Center at risk of not being with us much longer. And we can get to that, because I think that's an important something that we should talk about as we head into the future. But right now it's about thanking Phyllis and Margaret for coming up with this idea with David to create a rain garden at the borough property. But what was so amazing was how quickly we got it done. I think that from the moment that the idea came to Borough Council to the time that we were outside on a Saturday afternoon with shovels and plant specimens was just a couple weeks.
5 weeks.
Was just 5 weeks.
From beginning to end.
From beginning to end, which is pretty significant when you think about it, because sometimes the wheels of government move extremely slow. So the fact that we could and found the funding to actually do this. So tonight really is about thanking the Environmental Commission, is thanking really the two of you publicly for caring so much about Fanwood, for caring about, you know, our environmental health, for loving Mother Earth, as I always say, because it's important to educate our children and the people that live here. So before I give you your award, I would like to give you the opportunity just to talk a little bit about what you've done.
Great. Well, thank you, Colleen. First, we'd like to thank the council for approving our rain garden. We received a grant from the Rahway River Watershed to construct a demonstration rain garden in Union County. So this garden here that is in front of our municipal building will actually be a demonstration garden for people to come to and to witness what it is. Now, if you don't know what a rain garden is, it's a shallow depression, and it's a garden that's in the basin shape that actually has native plants that absorb the water from the runoff from the roof of this building and from the impervious surfaces. So now when our planning board gives a municipal zoning ordinance saying that you have to do some stormwater mitigation, they come to our environmental commission and we tell them that they need to put in a rain garden because the runoff from the new construction or the new parking lot or the new driveway is going to create pollution in the rivers. And this rain garden actually filters out the pollution from this runoff. And right here in our rain garden here, what this is filtering the parking lot right in front of the police station and the driveway. So all that water is going into our rain garden, and you can see it kind of flood, and the plants are soaking it in so that when it goes to our watershed, the Rahway River watershed, it'll be a little cleaner. So first of all, we wanted to thank the mayor, of course, because she got our approval very quickly when we found our spot, and all of you for also approving. And Dave Schwartzberg is on our committee, but he is down in Florida right now. So he was instrumental in getting the grant. And of course, Gary, our chairperson of our Environmental Commission, who is always stand by us in all the things we do. And we had many sponsors that actually donated supplies for this. So Phyllis is going to go over them. And they were so generous. Oh my goodness, it was unbelievable.
Right, and I would start with just our local DPW.
Yes.
Clint and his crew and
Kenny and Tony, and they were unbelievable. They helped
Right.
us excavate and they helped us do quite a bit.
So the local businesses that contributed a lot of materials early in the morning before Borough Hall was open made deliveries, and that was partly contributed by Well Done Concrete Corporation, Parker Gardens, who gave us the native plants, Bartell Farm and Garden Supply. Les Bartell gave us tons of sand, which forms the basin of the rain garden, and some lovely weed block. So also we wanted to thank Gray's Flowers too for more native plants.
We also had the president of the Fanwood Environmental Club at the high school. Keenan Porter came, as well as quite a few volunteers. We had a beautiful day. Mayor Marr came, and we just planted all our plants, and we now have a wonderful rain garden for people to see. We also now wanted to talk, because Colleen did mention a little bit about our nature center, which is really in a state of disrepair. We are very fortunate to have that nature center here in Fanwood. It's a beautiful piece of property, but it's being overrun by invasives. Now invasives, and we keep talking about native plants. Now the reasoning for planting native plants is for the animals that live here, like the deer, right? The deer, they don't eat invasives. They live in our nature center. They leave our nature center because all that's planted in our nature center right now are these invasives. We have the main invasives that we have are Japanese knotweed, Japanese stilt grass, and multiflora rose, as well as
Poison ivy.
poison ivy. And these the deer don't eat them. So they go to your homes and my homes, they eat the hostas, they eat all these things that, they've even started nibbling on our rain garden. But most of those are deer intolerant. But we need to find a solution, our environmental commission and our town, what to do about this. Now currently, right now at this point, and at this time, actually yesterday, up at the Freilinghuisen Arboretum, no, not the Reed Arboretum in Summit, they got some goats. And if you have been reading anything in the paper about goats lately, they're very popular. Down in Sandy Hook recently, I guess it was last year, and the year before, they've done it for 2 years. They took them down there. Now, they had planted poison ivy down in Sandy Hook to keep the Nazis away. That's what I had heard. And now it's overgrown. So their town raised some funds to get the goats there. And we found the goat herder, and Phyllis can talk a little bit more about that. And this same goat herder is up at the Arboretum now in Summit. And they quadrant off in their what's it, the bowl, the daffodil bowl. They quadrant that off with a fence, an electric fence, and then another fence so people could see them and go near them and pet them and feed them. And they have 8 goats up there now, and they're going to be there for a couple of weeks, eating all of the
Invasives.
native, well, wildflowers, you could call them too, weeds, eating the weeds. So this is a natural, instead of using pesticides. Because, I mean, we can't just go into our nature center and spray it with pesticides to kill everything. I mean, it's just not environmentally sound. It's just a bad way to go. So, I mean, we have to figure something out. We can't have, right now, we have a great community, we have a lot of scouts. And our scouts come and they help us, they put the wood chips down, they help us weed. But we can't take the risk of them going into that nature center right now because the poison ivy is just so bad. I mean, you just don't want a little kid to, go into anaphylactic shock because of some poison ivy. I mean, it's not something we can't even let them as a commission. So, we're asking for your help and you're think about this. We're gonna go ahead
We're
and
working
get
on a proposal with the goat herder, and we maybe have another option, so we'll be presenting soon.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Gary, if there's anything
Gary,
you
can I
want
say a
to
few
say?
words?
Yeah, oh, yes, absolutely.
Sorry, Gary.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Mayor, council, again, members of the public. Thank you all for your support over the years for the Environmental Commission. Fanwood is known. There's an umbrella group called the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, and it's well known there that Fanwood has one of the more effective and better commissions in the state of New Jersey, and part of that is because we do have the cooperation of the mayor and council, and we do appreciate that. I've sometimes been asked as an engineer, you're an engineer and you're an environmentalist, how does that work? And I said, well, very easy. I figure anybody who drinks water, eats food, breathes the air, has to be an environmentalist. It says that some of us are more committed than others. And in this case, we're very, very fortunate that Margaret and Phyllis are very, very committed environmentalists. They've worked very hard on the commission over the years, and their appreciation is tremendously appreciated. As has been said before, Fanwood is a volunteer community. We depend a lot on volunteers. And I think between our volunteers and our governing body and the public officials that we have, Fanwood is probably one of the most efficient governed towns in the state of New Jersey, and all the residents appreciate that. So again, thank you, everybody. And I would say anybody who's seen us on TV, we do need a few more members on the commission, and if you would like to join us, our meetings are the third Thursday, 7:30, up at the Community House, second floor. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So, girls.
Oh,
So
that's
on
beautiful.
behalf of the mayor
Wow.
and the council, we wanted to give you this picture of the train station. And as I say every month to the residents that we bestow, the train station is really the symbol of when people think of Fanwood. It is our sort of treasure. It is the gem in town. And so we hope when you hang this in your house, you'll understand and remember how much we really appreciate everything that you have done here for us. And that we really thank you for your commitment and your passion to making this town the best that it can be.
Thank you.
I don't know if you had heard about the goats being
Yeah.
the answer before
Yes.
tonight, so.
Did we talk about that 2 or 3 years ago?
Yes.
It actually came up probably about a year or two ago,
Yep.
that we did talk about this. And we
Yeah.
all kind of like smiled, and it was like, the goats.
No, I remember when they got up here, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if I'm crazy, but is goats the answer? And then luckily I wasn't crazy.
Well,
Yeah. But they're gonna come back to us before the end of the year with a proposal, which we will need to deal with as we head into next year's budget. Because one of the very first things I remember I did as mayor, and Jack was at the council at the time, was that we put a conservation easement onto that nature center, that's 6.5 acres, because at the time, which was actually an issue leading up into that campaign, how many years ago this month, there was talk about putting a cell tower in the nature center. And that was a very divisive conversation in town, and that was one of the very first things that we did to make sure that it always stayed there. So we were able to push back man out of the conservation center, but we have nature, I think, is, it needs our attention. So thank you very much for coming tonight. Moving on, we have no correspondence. I guess nobody cares to write that. Kind of find it hard, but it's okay. And we'll move right over to Councilman Levine, who will start us off with his reports on administration and finance, as well as moving some reports.
Thank you, Mayor. Administration and Finance did have a meeting last month, and the main items we talked about were the state comes in every year with recommendations for improving best practices, and we review all those best practices. Actually, one of them, which is that we on council take a certain amount of training every year. We're actually going to pass a resolution tonight in response to that to get that implemented, and it's actually a very worthwhile exercise. It's one of the few times the state actually comes in with a list of here are some of the best practices, and we can go through it, and sure enough, there were a number of things that we could pick up and do. The other thing that we're beginning to talk about, and we'll report back to council relatively soon, is we're actually starting the capital budget review process again, getting all the departmental requests, seeing what's out there, and figuring out a way to make sure that our priorities all get funded. I do have a couple of items to move. One is the tax collectors report. For the month of September, we collected $167,261, and I will move that report.
May I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next.
Similarly, I'll move payment of claims. Be it resolved that claims in the amount of $2,555,131 having been listed on the bill list and recorded in the files of Borough Hall and approved by the chairman of the appropriate committee be paid.
Second.
I have a second. May I have a roll call, please, on that?
Daniel Levine.
Yes.
Kevin Boris.
Yes.
Russell Hugo.
Yes.
Tom Krantz.
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell.
Yes.
Jack Mulligan.
yes.
Motion carried.
And thanks, Mayor. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Moving on into public safety, Councilwoman Mitchell.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Let me see, I think we'll first start off with the police report, as submitted by Chief Trigo for the month of September. There were 1,032 calls, 35 only to 911. Motor vehicle stops were 506. Summonses issued were 346. Motor vehicle summonses, 67. Non-moving violations, let me see, 203. Parking summonses, 73. DWIs, 2, and 1 for an open container, 1. Arrest on warrants, there were 10 arrests. Most of them, as usual, were on warrants from other towns. There were 6, 1 for DWI, 2, 1 for possession of controlled and dangerous substance, and 1 for trespassing. There were 2 juvenile arrests. There were 19 crimes reported, 1 criminal mischief, thefts and larceny, fraud, disorderly persons, burglary, and harassment. We're still having some car break-ins at night, so I don't know what to tell everybody. Please lock your car. It seems like such a simple thing to do, but please lock your car. Don't give the criminals an advantage. Parking permits for the train station for the coming year are on sale now. You can check all the various media. It's on Channel 35 and 40 and 24, and it's in the newspaper. So you can check to see when you can go and purchase a permit for Fanwood, and then the other purchases will go on for the other towns will go on sale later on in the month in November. The library. Last month, I told you that the architect had submitted plans to the subcommittee, and it was brought to the library board on their last meeting. Everybody on the library board was very impressed and supportive of the plans that were submitted. They're going back to the architect to have a little more update on it, so that the library board would like to come to the council at the January agenda, at the December agenda meeting to show us the plans, and they will also tell us how to phase things in, or what the cost will be if we decide to do the library renovations in stages. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, the book sale was, the library, this Friends of the Library, the book sale was very, very successful. I think they collected $10,600. So even in this day of technology, people are still reading books. The seniors yesterday, I went to the seniors meeting. They have no real big trips scheduled, but Quick Check was there and gave all of the seniors who wanted them flu shots. And they also provided lunch, so everybody was very happy. And I'm telling, this is a little early, but I'm telling you that the annual Thanksgiving ecumenical service will be on Monday, November 24th at Temple Shalom. And also, I'm still collecting money from my council mates who haven't paid yet, Mayor. And our lawyer.
on television.
Well, I just collected it all tonight, so it's just a friendly reminder. For
She's
whatever.
very intimidating. You should have seen, she shook me down before the meeting.
She did.
Well, Jack paid last month, so I didn't have to shake him down.
I was afraid.
Good, I'm glad. And I think that's it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much.
And is it okay for the library to come on December 2nd, December agenda meeting?
November?
December.
December agenda meeting, yes.
Okay, they'll come with the architect and, okay. Thank you.
We should get all that material in advance, though, so that we have a opportunity to look at it
Okay.
before the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilman Ugel.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a report from Director Clint Dixon, Department of Public Works, as they always do. They completed the fall brush pickup program. They did that in September. The bulk waste program was completed as well in September. We brought in $19,565 in permit fees. After everything was paid, we made just a little under $10,000. That's a little less than last year, but just a tad less than last year, but still very strong program that we run. The department also set up for a Fanwood Day that we had. We had a beautiful day for Fanwood Day. Hopefully everybody was there. I was out there with my family. The department also set up for the Friends of the Library book sale. They set up for the Fanwood 5K race, which was just this past weekend. And I also wanted to mention your favorite time of year, Mayor. It's the leaf pickup season. They've started picking up the leaves. I believe they're working on the south side, so they'll get those leaves picked up, and they'll continue until they're done. I want to give a status report on some of the road projects that we have ongoing in town. Hunter Avenue, the base paving is completed, and I think the weather forecast is not gonna be so good for the balance of the week, so I think the final paving will be done next week. Second Street, I don't know if you had a chance to take a look, Second Street is completed with paving. Vinton Circle, I was there a couple weeks ago, completed, looks great. South Glenwood, the curb work is ongoing, they're doing the curb work right now. They're scheduled to do the milling next week. As I said, the weather doesn't look too good this week for that, but next week they should do the milling, and then hopefully, weather permitting, they'll finish South Glenwood in early November. The other thing I wanted to mention, Mayor, was I got an email from our borough engineer a couple weeks ago. Fanwood was selected by the New Jersey Society of Municipal Engineers. We were awarded Project of the Year by that organization.
For what project?
What does that mean?
That means I get a nice little award.
Oh.
No, we got awarded the Project of the Year for the Glenwood Drainage Project.
And who
So-
gave us this award?
The New Jersey Society of Municipal Engineers.
Nice. Okay,
It's an organization. They give us an award.
okay.
No, but in all
Does
seriousness,
grant money
that,
come with this?
what's that?
Does grant money come with this?
Does a plaque come with it or something? That we can hang
Bragging
up?
rights, bragging
Bragging
rights.
rights.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
bragging rights. No, but in all seriousness.
You got an email.
That project, we all worked together on that project. We, the design of it, we considered it. We went to the environmental test fund to borrow money for that. That was a long project that took, I want to say, maybe a year or so in totality. But the thing that I'm most proud of with that project is that it helped a lot of people in that section of the borough, because that part of the borough experienced a lot of chronic flooding, especially with a couple of storms that we've had in the past few years, Irene, Sandy. The part of the borough really needed that relief, so I'm glad that project was recognized and singled out as something that was worthwhile. The other thing I wanted to mention tonight was we put in the DOT grant application, and the street that we put the grant application in for, drum roll, Madison Avenue. So we put in a grant application for Madison Avenue down by School 1, so we'll see what happens next year when they announce the winners. That's my report.
Thank you very much. Councilman Molinar?
Yeah, there's two things I want to report tonight. The first thing, I mean, you're all here for it, but maybe the public's not aware. 2 weeks ago at our agenda meeting, we talked a lot about the rezoning of South Avenue and what planning board gave the report. The consultant was here telling us about that, and we discussed different aspects of the rezoning to change the light industrial to more of a general commercial zones through all along South Avenue. And we asked for a couple of revisions. It's now going, those revisions will go back to the planning board for their comments and then come back to us. And what we're hoping to do is actually change the ordinance, probably be in the first 2 months of the year. That's what the goal is. So that's, so we'll, the whole goal is really to get it so people are not hindered by the zones, the zoning ordinance that's there, and that developers will want to spend money and redevelop on South Avenue to really extend the success of what we've done in the downtown along the South Avenue corridor where it needs work. So that's the goal of it, and we're hoping that this will help that a little enough so government gets a little bit out of the way and encourages the developer to spend some money. So that's all good things that are going on. It's been a couple of years in progress, but hopefully it will help us there. The second part of it, which is also one of my duties, I'm on the Consolidation Commission. Consolidation Commission is a group that I'm appointed to among other residents, and I have the chairman here of that commission, and I asked him to come tonight to give all of you on council an update and everyone here and at home to know what the group is, what it's doing, and where we are right now. So Don Parisi is here, and if you can, he's going to go up to the podium, and if you can swing that camera over to him, I'd be really happy with that. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor, council members, Ms. McGovern, nice to see you again. I am not going to be used to this. I'm going to be looking at you guys the whole time, and you're going to be telling me I have to look that way, right? So I'm going to try my best. The Consolidation Study Commission was approved at the state level by the State Local Finance Board in September 2012. It took about 8 months or so to get formed, but ultimately in June 2013, we started with our first meeting. There were 5 members from each municipality, 5 from Scotch Plains, 5 from Fanwood. We created our bylaws so that there was no officer that could be, officers cannot be from both, all officers cannot be from one town. So I'm the chair, elected by the remaining members of the group, and Anthony DiBattista from Fanwood is the vice chair. From that point forward until the end of 2013, we were diligently working on trying to create an RFP process to get bids in to actually do the study. And a group of us got together, did a good job of putting out the bids, got 2 wonderful responses, and I actually brought them with me. And we asked the people who submitted the bids if they could keep their bids open while we tried to find the funding. We actually had to make sure that they realized that funding wasn't in place, but submit your bid, let's see if you can keep it open as long as we needed to find the funding. They agreed to do that. So then in 2014, we've been working diligently to try to find the funding. At the beginning of the year, we approached a variety of private organizations to see if they might be interested, private foundations, and a couple of them said yes, they would be interested, but only, and reasonably so, if it was in a matching form, like matching a local, money raised locally by local sources. So we went back to the commission, got together, decided that a small committee should try to decide how to best raise money locally. And during the summer, hit upon the idea of reaching out to the very people who had originally signed the petitions that formed the basis for the local finance board approval. So we submitted letters to all of the people who signed the petitions. They actually were mostly hand-delivered to all the houses around the area. Over 900 deliveries were made, plus some mailings, to the people from Scotch Plains who signed and the people from Fanwood who signed. And what we did was we asked them all to make a voluntary contribution to see if we could raise approximately $30,000 locally that could be matched to get to the level of what the bids are at. The first bid that came in, it was the lowest, was at $75,000. Another bid came in at $100,000. 2 wonderful organizations. They were very well qualified, both of them. So we created a nonprofit, tax-exempt organization that would allow for a tax-deductible contribution. And the letter that went to each of the people who signed the petitions said to them, you can make a tax-deductible contribution. If it turns out that we do not reach the level that we need to reach in order to be able to get matching funds from these other organizations and pay for the study, the money, the donation will be returned to you. Trying to make it as easy as possible for people to say, look, this is not that big a deal. If I decide to make a contribution, I get to make a tax deduction. If they don't reach their level, they're going to give me the money back. So we only asked for like $25 to $50 from anybody who might have signed the petitions. And through the meeting that we had last week, we had locally raised $8,000. Now, not all of that comes from residents. Some of it has come from outside private sources, but enough support that we were sort of felt like this looks like it's working okay. It's certainly not where the level we need to be. So last week, we took the opportunity to try to give everybody an update and invite the public. In fact, that letter that went to all the petition signers actually invited them to come to the meeting. And we posted what we were doing on social media. We have a Facebook page. And we got some comments on the Facebook page from people who had questions to ask. And we got some people who came to the meeting who had questions to ask. So we sort of used the meeting to try to respond to those questions. Now I have to reach down to get my notes. So what we tried to do was get to the meat of what people's questions were. And really, preliminarily, we had to handle one question that came through social media, which was a very basic question. Is the group, the commission, is it paid or is it volunteer? And of course, the answer was we're all volunteers. I mean, this community is used to that. I was on the Board of Ed, so I actually had to run to be a volunteer, which is always fun. So we're all volunteers. And that took care of one question. But then the remaining questions that came up were all the sorts of questions that we have heard over the 18 months, and even before that, when the petition process was underway. we've heard over and over, and, we sort of wanted to take the opportunity to address them. I tried to make it clear at that point that when I was answering those questions, some of them we can answer factually, others we had to answer with opinions. I wanted to make it clear to everybody that they were my opinions. When I was answering the question, I said, this is Don Parisi's opinion, not necessarily the whole commission, and of course the rest of the commission could join in and respond as they saw fit. Turned out I kind of monopolized the meeting. I don't quite understand how that happened, but it was, we asked questions from the audience and we answered the faithful questions. So the main questions that we got were things like, how could this possibly ever show a return on investment? How could a study that results in somebody saying, it might be a good idea to pose this question to the voters, spending money on that study, how can you ever get enough out of potential consolidation for it to make economic sense? So the answer to that question has always been, from the commission's perspective, we don't know. The answer has to be part of what the study has to reveal. For example, if a study revealed that we can all save $100 a year and get no change in services, or maybe even improvement, that's something that, if that happened, people would probably say that's not a bad idea. On the other hand, if a study revealed that we could save $20 and lose a whole bunch of services, there isn't very many people who are going to vote for that. But the answer is we don't know. We can't really say which one is going to come out. Some of us have intuitive feelings about what would come out, but it needs professional studying to be able to accomplish that. And we wanted to make sure everybody knew that this commission exists to get the study done. It's a very different role than what some people, actually, I've been criticized for this, but some people have suggested that, we should have been pro-consolidation all along. That's not what this commission is about. This commission is about making sure the study gets done. That's what the state grant, the state authorization grant would be a bad word to use, because that would be wonderful if we had a state grant. We wouldn't have to worry about the funding. But the state authorization is basically saying, you guys are public officials. This is a public body. We have to follow Open Public Meetings Act. We have to advertise. We are there to get the study done. We take that very seriously. So our job is to get as much information out to the public as they could possibly have in order to make an informed decision about whether this is a smart idea or not. And so we're not pro-consolidation. We are, however, pro-study. We want to get the study done. So, in answer to that question about whether or not it could ever get a return on investment, we sort of said, that's what we need the study for. The next question that came up a lot was, I can't see losing the great services that I get, and this mostly came from Fanwood residents, thanks to you guys, and all of the people who have ever, organized this borough. I don't want to lose all the great services that I get. And so our response to that is, we get that. That makes a lot of sense. If you've got great services and you're afraid that they might go away if a consolidation happens, that's an understandable reaction. But it isn't necessarily so. In fact, my personal hope, and I'm from Scotch Plains, now I know this is on TV, but you guys definitely remove your snow better than Scotch Plains. There's no doubt about that. My personal hope, of course, would be that if this ever happened, if we ever got to the point where we were studying this, that the best practices of both municipalities would end up being the practice of the combined municipality. That's actually what has happened in, the two episodes of consolidations in New Jersey, one being a municipality, another being a school district. So, yeah, we get that. We heard so many times that, I don't want to lose the Fanwood Library. Okay, get that, because during Hurricane Sandy, that was a huge thing for you guys. That makes a lot of sense. But it doesn't necessarily have to happen. And so we're trying to tell people, look, we want to talk about this stuff. We want to get the study done, talk about it. We don't want to have these conclusions drawn. So the way we set up the approach was that we really wanted a two-step process, and the bidders agreed to that. The first step is to just do a factual statement. Let's find out what's actually happening in both municipalities, what's the facts on the ground. That way, everybody starts from the same set of facts. We don't have to be curious about whether these facts are accurate or not. They actually exist. That's one part. The second part is evaluative, not factual. That would be taking the facts, figuring out what options are available for the commission to consider about whether or not there can be a more efficient delivery of services. If there is, then the commission may vote, let's put this to the voters. And of course, the voters of each town would have to approve in order for it to go through. So the factual process one step, the evaluative process the next, and the public should be involved every step of the way. So, we wanted to make sure we got that point across that, there's not necessarily going to lose the best services. And the final thing that we talked about is that, this was just sort of something that I threw in. We actually received a check from a senior citizen in response to the letter of $10. And I thought when I got that letter, good for you. I mean, this must be a person who, really struggles to make ends meet and just decided, look, they're looking for $25, I can't do that, I'll send 10. Good for her. I mean, basically, what she was saying is, I want somebody to look at this. I want to do my part to make whatever contribution I can and see if we can get there. So, she decided that this might be the right investment for me. Another person sent in $100 and said, look, I expect to be here for 15, 20 years, and if $100 is going to get a study done that might actually save me some property taxes and not lose services, that's a good return on investment for me. I agree with that. Other people might not do it, so it's not for everybody, but that's where we are. We're trying to raise the money from voluntary contributions from citizens of both municipalities, targeting people who actually sign the petitions, but we also have social media. We're also considering the possibility of using independent crowdsourcing to try to raise the funds, and that's where we are.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Councilman Molnar, for inviting me to speak.
Thank you very much for coming. It was exactly the presentation. I would have to say that my involvement in the commission has been exactly what Don has presented, is that the commission has been very good, and everyone on it has been basically saying that we're not pro, we're not con, we're just here to find out what's the answers. And that's why I asked Don to come tonight, because I was like, I think it was worth it for the council to hear and more people to hear that message, that it's, if you really think about it, we talked about in council that we didn't want to use our taxpayers' money to fund this study. So if you really think of what Fanwood's about, what it's been about with volunteerism, and this is truly what is going on right now. This is truly trying to find out if this is important to the community. This is a true grassroots effort. And if this could be done completely through fundraising and matching grants to do a study, I mean, what an amazing thing if we can get that done to show as a model to the rest of New Jersey. I mean, the interesting thing is that the state government used to fund these things, and they decided not to fund it anymore. And the reason why is because they felt that they had to, if they spent the money on the study, they had to have a consolidation, otherwise it didn't work. And they thought it was a bad use, but then they were pre-programming the study. So that's a bad way to go in, saying, we'll give you the money only if we get the result that we want. So that's why the state doesn't fund this anymore, but, which is, anyway, I have my opinion on that, but, as you probably just heard. But I think that this is a really unique way of doing something that can be very contentious. And that's why we chose not to use taxpayers' money to fund it. But I think this would be a really great thing if everyone did donate some money. I know I personally will be donating money to get the study, to help towards the study, because I think it's worth it to know what. And the best thing about this is that regardless if the study is done, it still goes to a vote. Everyone in Fanwood the majority in Fanwood has to vote yes, and a majority in Scotch Plains has to vote yes. And if that doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. So I think this is all about residents going and talking about it for years, going, well, what if? What would happen if? And that's what this study is all about. And it is not pre-programmed. It's all about finding out what would happen if. So I think it's, if you're interested in it, I think you should. Could you plug the face?
Yeah, right.
If you go back to Don and
Sorry
just
about that.
plug it for us.
Yeah, the two ways of making a contribution, the easiest way is to go to the Consolidation Study Commission's Facebook page, which is simply FSP-CSC on your Facebook. And right on there, there's a link to a PayPal account that will send the money directly to the organization we formed. That's the 501c3, the tax exempt for tax deductions. Independently, if you don't want to pay through PayPal, and frankly, that actually loses us a little money because PayPal keeps some of that, the other way to do it is to simply send a check to P.O. Box 25 in Fanwood. the post office in Fanwood. So everybody in Fanwood knows the zip code, and hopefully the people in Scotch Plains do too. So, yeah, that's the way to do it, those two ways, either electronically through PayPal or sending a check to PO Box 25.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Don.
Appreciate it.
And that's, so again, I encourage everyone here to, I'm glad you got to hear that, because I think everyone was like, what is going on, what's not going on? And it's a really a good group, and I think in the true Fanwood spirit, really, of volunteerism and trying to do a grassroots and from the bottom up. So, and it's not government involved, it's concerned citizens involved. So it's really an interesting and cool model, and I hope it works out. So thanks again, Don, and that's my report for tonight.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Councilman Barr, take it up.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm going to report on the fire department, recreation, and the historical preservation. Starting with recreation, I wanted to give a congratulations to everyone that was involved with the Fanwood 5K. Not only the rec commissioners, but also all the volunteers that were out there. I ran, I had a lot of fun. My kids were there. They stopped by to get their faces painted before. I was a little bit slower than I wanted my pace to be, but still had a good race. So thank you everyone on the Recreation Commission. Thank you all to the volunteers. Moving on to the Historical Preservation Commission, there was a walk that was scheduled for remembrance of the Battle of Short Hills, and there were historical walkers that walked all across Union County, and they stopped by our historic train station, and there were sites set up for the historical walkers to view and learn about the history of Union County. That's a great thing, and I think it was very successful. Another thing with the Historical Preservation Commission, they are finalizing a plaque. It's a historical plaque that will go on our new building downtown near where Mara's Cafe is. And that plaque will commemorate the history of our downtown. That's in the final stages, and hopefully that will be completed in short order. And last and not least, because I've got the chief here, I'm moving on to the fire department. There were 20 calls for the month of September 2014, and I'll list some of those. Those include a kitchen oven fire, a motor vehicle accident with extrication, 2 commercial fire alarms, 3 residential fire alarms, 3 mutual aid calls, 2 natural gas leaks, 3 wires down. In addition to that, Fire Prevention and Awareness Week is in full swing, and firefighters are visiting the schools. So I want to say thank you to all the members of our fire department that are going out and visiting with our youngsters around town. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Councilman France?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to highlight some of the things that the Board of Health discussed at their October meeting. 3 things, basically. The board has been seeking to fund a program that they had in previous years, where they send underage smokers into stores to try to buy cigarettes illegally. They come out with the cigarettes. They report to somebody from the Board of Health, who then goes in and then writes a summons to that particular merchant for violating the age restriction on cigarette sales. One of the ways they wanted to fund this was to pass an ordinance requiring anybody who sells e-cigarettes to buy a permit for $200. This is something that they floated among all the towns that the Westfield Health Department covers, including Fanwood. Due mostly to what appear to be technical reasons, they basically tabled that idea, and they are now have decided that they're going to ask each town to pony up $200 or $300 in their annual budgets to fund this program. That'll come up next year when they submit their budget. They consider it a pretty important program. It keeps the cigarette the convenience stores, supermarkets honest on who they're selling cigarettes to. As for e-cigarettes, they're widely seen in the health community as essentially a nicotine delivery system being marketed a lot to kids. The FDA is currently looking at regulating them, and there is some thought that the state is going to require permitting for them, which would make the local permit moot anyway. So The e-cigarette ordinance is not going to happen for now. There was some talk about the enterovirus D68 strain. There have been a handful of cases in New Jersey. Of course, the death of that poor little boy down in Hamilton Township made everybody suddenly care about enterovirus. This is an illness that's been around for a long time. Most people who get it, it comes and goes, and you don't even know that they had the enterovirus. I think that the Board of Health's concern is that parents watching their kids be less concerned about putting a name to what illness their kid has, and just basically do what they would normally do if their child has respiratory problems, a fever, flu-like symptoms. Take them to the doctor and let the doctor and the medical community deal with it. There is a test for enterovirus. It's typically not given unless a doctor feels that there's no other reason why these symptoms are endemic in a particular kid, and they're usually not given until the child enters ICU. So the takeaway was that in any case when your child is having respiratory distress or flu-like symptoms or is just too sick to go to school, take them to the doctor, and if you really feel like you need to take them right now and it's a weekend, take them to the hospital. All I'm going to say about Ebola is that there have been no reported cases in New Jersey. We only have the 2 confirmed cases in the entire United States of those 2 nurses who treated Mr. Duncan in Dallas. I can say that the local hospitals here that serve our community, they've all been on conference calls with the New Jersey Department of Health, as have all the assisted livings, all the nursing homes, subacute care places, to make sure everybody knows basically that just because you have a fever and vomiting and diarrhea does not mean you have Ebola. There's a lot of panic out there and a lot of people are concerned, but the real thing here is travel to one of the West African countries that's basically ground zero for this outbreak. All of our rescue squads have been alerted. The CDC has very specific guidelines for 911 responders. If you come upon a patient who has these symptoms and recently traveled to West Africa, to one of these countries, act accordingly, which is basically to put on the correct personal protective equipment and limit the number of people who come in contact with that patient and get them to a hospital. Really, the thing that most people can and should do is get a flu shot. Flu continues to be an illness that sickens and kills more people than everything we've talked about nationwide every year. We've had already some flu shot clinics. There are more coming. There's going to be one in Fanwood sometime soon. Basically, they offer the shots for, I think it's $10 or $15 each, or if you have certain insurances, it's covered. And of course, you can get a flu shot at your doctor. We've heard about other places where my company gives them out for free, and they're available for relatively inexpensively at drugstores and supermarkets. I have the rescue squad's report for September. The rescue squad had 41 calls for service, including 11 sick person calls, 11 motor vehicle accidents, 6 altered mental status site calls, 6 respiratory cardiac calls, 3 falls, 3 standbys. They went to Overlook Hospital 19 times, JFK 3 times, Robert Wood Johnson at Rahway twice, St. Barnabas once, and Muhlenberg once. The majority of the calls, as always, are basic BLS, basic life support only, which means just the squad goes. It's not, they're not life-threatening or potentially critical calls. Medics were called in for advanced life support on 7 calls. 3 patients signed off refusing medical assistance. We went on 3 public relations calls. 2 calls were canceled. Total response hours by our members were 189. The average response time from time of page to time at arrival at the call was 9.5 minutes. Total miles traveled by both ambulances in September was 450 miles. They gave oxygen 7 times. Mutual aid was rendered to Scotch Plains 8 times, Westfield 3 times, and Plainfield once. The rescue squad did standby at Scotch Plains Fanwood High School football games. There was a marching band competition last Saturday that the squad, or 2 Saturdays ago, I think the squad did standby on as well, and the squad did its normal thing on Fanwood Day. I wanted to give my thanks to Brian, Walter, and O'Brien's Poorhouse. This is Fanwood's neighborhood pub here. They were approached by the Guinness Stout Company to choose the Guinness Irishman of the Year for New Jersey. It's a promotional thing that they do. And O'Brien's decided to pick as their Irish Men and Women of the Year all of the first responders in town, the police, fire department, and rescue squad. So to mark that, they held a nice event this past Saturday night at the tent out back. We had a great showing by the fire department, the rescue squad, the police department. There was a good cheap food and lots of Guinness, and it was really a very nice time. And I just wanted to express my thanks to the Bryans at O'Brien's for doing that for us. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Ms. Councilman.
Who sponsors the rabies clinic and when is it?
Oh, I didn't write that one down. The rabies clinic is sponsored by the Board of Health.
That's what I thought.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Not by Guinness?
Not by Guinness, no. This year it's being held Wednesday, November 5th at LeGrand Park from 6 to 7 p.m. Up until this year, it had been held in the spring, but it turns out that because I guess the pet licenses are due in January, it made more sense to actually do the licensing, the rabies certificates and the rabies shots before the licensing, so people have their certifications in hand. They're free for local residents, for dogs and cats, and again, that's Wednesday, November 5th, 6 to 7 at LeGrand Park. Thank you, Councilwoman.
You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you very much. Before we open up the meeting to the public and get on to the business at hand, I will make one announcement of a very important upcoming meeting on Monday night, October 27th. As many of you know, in Fanwood, there has been a recent sort of push and advocacy to try to obtain one-seat ride along the Raritan Valley line. And one-seat ride is the ability to stay on the train when it pulls into Newark, that you don't have to run down and off onto another platform, onto another train to get through the tunnels of New York City. And I have been part of the Raritan Valley Rail Coalition for the last year and a half, and we've made some strides. The coalition usually meets during the day, and that is not convenient for commuters. So we decided, especially in light of the recent news from New Jersey Transit, which sort of pulled back on expansion plans that they had to roll out in November, that we would hold a meeting this Monday coming up from 6 to 8 o'clock over at the Cranford Community Center. And we will have representatives from New Jersey Transit there next Monday night between 6 and 8. And it'll be in a very informal setting in the sense of that if you're able to come off the train, it's one block in or off the path from the train station. But if you wanted to come into Fanwood and then drive your car over, there's plenty of parking. That's right where the Cranford Library is. And we'll have people there for the 2 hours, so if you're able to come in for 20 minutes or half an hour, I believe you'll get the gist of the information and have your voices heard. And I really think it's important for anyone who understands how important the issue is along the Raritan Valley line for the equity for the riders and for the towns to come out and come together that night. I'd like to have a motion to open the meeting to the public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to call forward any members of the public that wish to make comment at this time. Seeing that there isn't any, I'd like to have a motion to close the meeting to the public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have no old business, and under new business, I'd like to make a motion to move the order of business and move up our two public safety resolutions that we have tonight that have to do with the approval of two individuals who are going to be joining and put a membership application into the fire department. So I can have a motion to move that order.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I know, Councilman Mitchell, you have the resolutions.
Yes, I
know
do.
the chief is here. Chief, is there anything that you would like to say? Okay.
Right on, John.
Actually, we have, I can just say real quick. We have two new members coming on.
Yeah, the voice. You'd be like the voice from the back of the room. And yeah, why don't you just tell us a little bit about
I'll tell you,
Maxwell
we have two
and
new
Michael.
members coming on. Mike Walko, who comes from another town, he has a multitude of certifications, and he's gonna be a great addition. We don't need to send him to school. We have Max Jones, he's brand new, and we'll break his spirit. And we will make him wanna stay. They both come from another town, close to our borders, so I appreciate them. They've been waiting to get on for a while.
So Chief, how many, what does this do to the membership numbers?
This brings us up to about 36 active members. We're doing pretty well. Some of the members are senior members. They don't do as much as others. We have more than 50% that are strong and active and ready to go to work. We're doing really well in this town, very well.
That's great. And maybe while you're up here too, you want to maybe, were you looking at something earlier today?
Well, we had the fire truck demonstration come in today. We're starting the process of looking into new fire apparatus. We need to replace the 82 Mack. It's pretty tired, and we need to move forward on that. So we're starting to put together some paperwork, some numbers, and we'll get back to you as soon as we have that.
Right.
Real quick, I'd just like to also thank Charlie Brown's, and then I know it's not on your agenda, and I
No, that's
apologize.
okay.
Charlie Brown's had a fundraiser for us, raised close to $800, and they were happy with the turnout, they were happy the way it went, and they'd like to do it again sometime, maybe
That's really great.
after the first of the year. Pick another day and we'll do it again.
No, that's really great, and I'm glad that you're looking at the apparatus now, because we had said earlier in the evening that we were in the process of really getting all of our capital requests, and we want
Right.
them, we really want to have an ability to know by the end of the year, sort of what numbers we're looking at, and this would be a
At
major.
least we have a
purchase.
starting
Perfect.
point. We're talking to a couple different manufacturers and just trying to get some numbers,
Great.
and we'll do well with our money.
Thank you. I
Thank
know
you.
you will.
Thanks,
Okay,
Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So,
Chief.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Mitchell, would you like to move each of these resolutions?
Yes, now I'll just formalize what John said. I move resolution 14-10-166, and this is approval for the application of Maxwell Jones.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations and welcome.
And I move resolution 14-10-167, and this is approval for the application for the fire department for Michael Walco.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Again, congratulations and welcome, and thank you for choosing to volunteer here. That means a lot to us here at the council. Thank you. Okay, moving on, going back to our regular scheduled order, Councilman Levine, you have quite a few.
Yes. Could I move by consent?
You can.
Consent resolutions, items 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Okay, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Move resolution 14-10-150, which is cancellation of certain capital improvement balances.
Okay, I need a second on that, please.
Second.
And then may I have a roll call for the cancellation of those balances in the capital fund?
Daniel Levine?
Yes.
Kathy Mitchell?
Yes.
Kevin Boris?
Yes.
Russell Hugo?
Yes.
Tom Krantz?
Yes.
Jack Molinar?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Move resolution 14-10151, authorizing cancellation of grants that were receivable for specific projects that,
Second.
Are done?
done,
Is that what these leftovers?
that were just
Okay.
left over, right?
Okay, so I have a motion on that. May I have a roll call, please, for the capitalization of those grant funds?
Daniel Levine?
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell?
Yes.
Kevin Boris?
Yes.
Russell Hugo?
Yes.
Tom Krantz?
Yes.
Jack Molinar?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Move resolution 14-10152, authorization of chapter 159-2014 Rahway River Association Rain Garden.
Second.
Okay, may I have a roll call? Is this for the rain garden?
Yes. Yes. Daniel Levine?
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell?
Yes.
Kevin Boris?
Yes.
Russell Hugo?
Yes.
Tom Krantz?
Yes.
Jack Molinar?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Move resolution 14-10153, which is authorization to refund certain tax overpayments.
Second.
I have a second. May I have a roll call for that refund?
Daniel Levine?
Yes.
Kevin Boris?
Yes.
Russell Hugo?
Yes.
Tom Krantz?
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell?
Yes.
Jack Molinar?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I'll make a quick comment on this next resolution. It's actually going to save us substantial money changing phone services in Borough Hall, so this is a good, we're kind of we routinely look at our operations and saw an opportunity to actually get better phone service that hopefully will be evident to citizens, but also actually will save us quite a bit of money. So that's resolution 14-10154, which is an award of contract for telephone network services to Broadview Networks.
Second.
May I have a roll call, please, for that change?
Daniel Levine?
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell?
Yes.
Kevin Boris?
Yes.
Russell Hugo?
Yes.
Tom Krantz?
Yes.
Jack Molinar?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Move resolution 1410158, which is authorization to exempt a disabled veteran property, 33 Shady Lane, block 115, lot 13.
Okay, may I
Second.
have a second on that? May I have a roll call to exempt that property?
Daniel Levine,
Yes.
Kevin Boris.
Yes.
Russell Hugo.
Yes.
Tom Kranz.
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell.
Yes.
Jack Molitor.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Move resolution 1410159, which is authorization of a refund of a performance guarantee from Donald and Deborah Close at block 10, lots 27 and 28.
Second.
Also to require that they post the maintenance bond.
And that they post the maintenance bond, correct.
Still a second.
Okay, I have a second on that. May I have a roll call for that action?
Daniel Levine,
Yes.
Jack Molitor.
Yes.
Kevin Boris.
Yes.
Russell Hugo.
Yes.
Tom Kranz.
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Move resolution 1410160, which is authorization of chapter 159 body armor replacement fund. This is money that came from the state.
Second.
Second, may I have a roll call, please, for that?
Daniel Levine,
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell.
Yes.
Kevin Boris.
Yes.
Russell Hugo.
Yes.
Tom Kranz.
Yes.
Jack Molitor.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Resolution 1410161, which is to amend the 2014 contract with Millennium Grant Writer.
Second.
I have a question on this, Mayor. What was the original contract amount?
12.
12.
20% of 12 comes to 14? You can't do this,
Well, you
not unless you go through the process that is required by for the engineer to certify certain things to the mayor and council and everything else. You can't have a change order greater than 20% of the original amount unless you go through certain hoops, or you don't award it and you have to bid it out separately.
We can do it again. We'll take it.
And, all right, we need to then pull this, because we have to go back, because the way that it was, I think there was a problem the way that the contract was written, which is why we're amending this today, and that the award.
There may be a way to do it, but you can't do it the way you're doing it.
So,
Okay.
Mayor, we're
I'll
having,
just pull that.
we'll bring it up at Finance Administration's meeting at the end of the month. We can
Okay.
talk about it
That's
with the CFO then and
That's fine.
figure out the right way to get it done.
Do we need to make a motion to pull it?
So,
Why don't we table
Table,
this
just
resolution?
table it, if we just
All
table
right,
it.
so I have a motion on the,
Let's make a motion to table.
Motion to table.
Second.
I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, move resolution 1410162, which is authorize the chapter 159 drunk driving enforcement grant, also money received from the state.
Second.
May I have a roll call, please, for that award?
Daniel Levine,
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell.
Yes.
Kevin Boris.
Yes.
Russell Hugo.
Yes.
Tom Kranz.
Yes.
Jack Molitor.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And lastly, resolution 1410163, which is award a contract for the installation of security cameras to Jonathan Communications Voice and Data. This is, I assume, back at the development.
This is in the downtown municipal parking lot. We're gonna be putting 2 in.
Surveillance
Yeah,
cameras.
one around that garbage enclosure, one on the,
Oh, don't tell them where.
Right.
Second. Put it into that conversation.
okay. All right, may I have a second on that?
Yes.
Second. Secret
May I have
cameras.
a roll call, please?
Daniel Levine.
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell.
Yes.
Kevin Boris.
Yes.
Russell Hugo.
Yes.
Tom Kranz.
Yes.
Jack Molitor.
I'm afraid not to say.
Eleanor, can we make sure that the signage up around the garbage enclosure gets put? I've talked to Clint about that, so that should be in the works along with the ordinance number that chemical dumping and
Yes,
the
he's
fine.
having it
I mean,
made up,
It
yes.
should be, all right,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be really big either,
No.
because, I mean, I'm not looking for a huge sign. Looks like it's out of place.
I know, okay.
But we do want people to see it, so
Oh,
they
yeah,
don't
no,
dump.
no, yeah.
Maybe 10
You
feet
could
by
put-
10 feet.
Right, yeah, you know. Okay, thank you. We've done public safety, so we move on to public works, please. Councilman Yubel, you have 4 resolutions to move.
First, I'll move resolution 10-155. This is awarding a contract to T&M for administration and inspection services for Second Street and for South Glenwood. And Shasta Pass is thrown in there with South Glenwood.
Second?
May we have a roll call, please?
Wesley Hinkle?
Yes.
Kevin Boris?
Yes.
Tom Kranz?
Yes.
Dan Levine?
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell?
Yes.
Jack Molitor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next, I'll move resolution 14-10-156. This is awarding our annual leaf transporting contract to Mesocola Excavating.
Second?
How did we do over last year? I mean, is this
A little bit less, a couple of cents.
It did, oh, well, okay.
Right.
It didn't go up.
No.
Okay, that's good. Okay, we have a motion on that, I have a second, may I have a roll call?
Wesley Hinkle?
Yes.
Kevin Boris?
Yes.
Tom Kranz?
Yes.
Dan Levine?
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell?
Yes.
Jack Molitor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next, I'll move resolution 14-10-157. As I mentioned, part of my report, this is authorizing the borough engineer to submit our DOT grant application for 2015, which I said was Madison Avenue.
Second?
All right, may I have a roll call, please, on that?
Wesley Hinkle?
Yes.
Kevin Boris?
Yes.
Tom Kranz?
Yes.
Dan Levine?
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell?
Yes.
Jack Molitor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And then lastly, I'll move resolution 14-10-168. This is proposed adoption of the 2014 Union County Hazard Mitigation Plan Update.
Second?
I know.
Gotta have a plan.
Who's like, what does that mean?
Exactly, what is it?
Right. Well,
gotta
they're
have a
asking
plan.
us-
It's something
they're
that we
asking
have
us
to have, right?
To, up front, to
And they
say that
updated
we're
it.
going to adopt it once the other.
But the
recommendations
resolution
die.
says that we're going to later pass the resolution.
Right. This is just our
About the
proposal to
We're
do
planning
that.
to plan.
We're
Plan.
we're intending to plan,
We're
that's
intending
okay.
to plan, right?
Hey, when it comes to hazard mitigation, you can never be too prepared.
The
Okay,
plan
I have, I have a motion, I have a
Explains it all.
second, may I, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, okay. That actually concludes our regular scheduled business for this evening. I would now like to have a motion to open up the meeting to the public to ask any questions. at this
Motion.
time.
To open the meeting to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to call forward any members of the public that wish to talk about anything. At all.
Harold Clark, 216 Second Street, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the Recycling Association. Tonight I wanted to take the opportunity to thank the mayor and the council for reaching a significant point in our relationship with the signing of the contract and the authorization of the first payment. We have reestablished a relationship which is after a very long and certainly educational process, I must say. I also want to thank Eleanor for handling all the communications over the past 2.5 years. I do want to point out that this is the first time in the 27 years history of the organization that we have taken any direct financial support from the borough. Frankly, while we're very appreciative, we're not all that happy about it because we've been to a point of pride that we've operated financially independently from the borough, and in fact have actually saved the borough over $1 million in expenses because the borough has not had to pay a curbside vendor over these past many years. We hope we will be financially independent again soon, but we do thank the council for the help that they are providing. As you know, rather than having a curbside vendor take and sell the materials and keep the profits, we take whatever we get from selling the materials and recycle it back into the community through Scout, Church, and Service organizations. When we have extra money, we have given donations to the Rescue Squad, Fire Department, Rec Committee. We help kids who are doing Saturday detention at the high school or who have been referred to the county youth services by the police, helping to keep them out of trouble. And we provide a safe place for kids who are doing religious classes or have clubs where they have a certain number of community service hours to do those. And I only mention those because I hope that residents, even if they couldn't care less about the environment, would see bringing their materials to the center as a way of investing in this community. You may never have been in Scouts, you may never had to use the rescue squad or fire department, you may never run the risk of getting into trouble because there was nobody there to help you out. But I'm sure you have neighbors who have. And I certainly acknowledge it's very inconvenient to have to haul your stuff over to North Avenue. But I also know that there are very, very few good things in life that don't require some investment. Unfortunately, as the council and mayor know, we were hit financially very hard by the economic downturn and then by malfeasance of one of our officers, which certainly was our fault, and by the continued depression of the commodity prices. That has, as I said, is continuing and it's affecting the whole industry. So I hope you are happy that you aren't in the position of the towns in Bergen and Passaic County who suddenly had to scramble to find another vendor when the one they had for curbside simply closed up shop and said they were going out of business. I want to thank the council and the mayor for deciding to continue handling recycling as we have. I understand that this is not a unanimous sentiment of the council, and I'm sure we're going to be revisiting this question. And that's perfectly appropriate. I look forward to those conversations, because in the end, it all comes down to how you evaluate the costs and benefits of the various options, and people can differ in their opinions on those. The council has now found out the costs of at least 2 of the options, and I hope as further decisions are made that the council will get input from a broad cross-section of Fanwood residents to make sure that we build consensus for for how we handle recycling in here. But as of right now, we're going to continue doing what we've been doing. We're pleased to provide that service to the residents of Fanwood and the surrounding communities. And on behalf of the Recycling Association, I want to thank you for the decisions that you've reached, and I look forward to working with all of you and making further improvements. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
You know, I second that speech. Oh, Harry McNally, 44 Second Street. I'm glad to be back in health, to be able to come. I told Russ at Fanwood Day that I think you folks are doing so well, I really can't contribute much, you know, so. Especially now that we have the problem with, well, yeah, we really have I think we really have our problem at the recycling center solved. And hopeful good 3 years, and then extended another 2 years, and then just be able to, you know, that we have a model here that, well, I'm sorry, I am speaking my viewpoint. I think we're going. I mean, it might change. I'm open-minded, but I sure went through a lot of thinking on my own about the center versus curbside, and we had some good letters at the Scotch Plains Fanwood Times. Thank you, Councilman. You started it in a way, and nice editorial there, welcoming us back. You know, that we got our 501c3, the nonprofit status back. I didn't know I would say these things, except that our top leader turned me on here. You know the way I am. Come on, folks. I really came up to ask questions.
Ask away, Harry.
There was one other thing I saw on the news just before this. This is, I'm sorry, different thing. Just amazing. If you ever think that we can't solve like problems that are like unsolvable, has anybody else seen? They now have connected the spinal cord. They learned how from this example in London, on a Polish man who had almost a centimeter, 8 millimeters of spinal cord severed, gap, and they use cells from the nose. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it was on the news.
And the foot, you saw it too. I said,
The nose.
never think that we can't
Right.
do something,
It's true,
you know?
sure.
So, anyway, questions? Can I,
Go ahead.
they're quick, thank you.
Okay.
On the Second Street for T&M, that's further south, south I call it.
Yeah, it went from the park down to, what's the cross street there? Coriel, right. Thank you.
It's been done.
It's done, complete.
Oh, I thought
No, it's not new.
I thought you were approving funds for extension, and, okay.
Oh, no, that was
We're
just
not
for
ready
that-
to do in front of my house yet.
No, that was just to do, now that the work has been done, they have to, I guess, take a sample. Is that, what was that that we?
On the-
Inspection, yeah, okay,
No,
administration.
no, they said, no, what this is T&M has a individual with their company that is out there inspecting, making sure the contractor does
Right.
what they should
Yeah,
be
they
doing.
put the atomic
Right.
bomb right on the
So,
street.
T&M gets paid for that, for those inspection
Yeah, okay,
services.
all right.
So, but that's all, it's all
Hindsight.
done, it's completed,
Right.
it's
Okay.
finished.
And for the leaf transport, essentially, you said, again, my hearing
Yeah,
works
it
sometimes.
was a little less than last year.
Even a little less?
Yes.
Well, maybe they found they can do things. Gas is getting less
Yeah,
cheap.
you know what, and it'd be because of that.
Yeah. And the borough engineer to submit an application to the DOT, that's federal, I believe.
No, the state.
No.
Oh, it's the state
Yeah,
DOT.
sorry,
New Jersey
but-
Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
No, oh, it's New Jersey DOT.
It's their annual grant application.
Yeah, how much do we get for that?
Depends.
Couple $100,000.
Yeah.
A couple hundred?
Yeah,
Yeah.
200-300.
Like for Burns Way, we got $250,000.
So that's our taxes coming back to us.
Yeah.
This is state, yeah.
In a
state
way.
taxes.
Yeah.
We hope so.
Yeah, well, it's the game. I mean, some people want to get more taxes back than they give. But it's nice when people can give more than they have to get back, too.
So it's a good grant, it's a good source of funding, the DOT.
Well, we're cooperative with them in the sense that they help support the design of the roadways, and they build up the quality, hopefully, of the road, because we're getting a lot still. I mean, they're like shovel-ready jobs, and the pavers are really doing the work all around. And hopefully, we'll get better life out of the new pavement. It always feels good when it's new pavement, but the question is, how long does it really last?
Right. Right.
You know,
That's
and
the
that goes back to the T&M contract for inspection.
Right, they make
You
sure
know,
they're using
and
the
they-
material called for in the contract, you know. they
Yeah,
verify
and that machine I'm talking about,
Yeah.
that you place on the road, that checks the density
Mhm.
of the road. And how they place it and how many times they place it can be very important. Because if you don't place it on the joint line, that's where you have the problems. Where they're laying down one lane, and it's great in the center of the lane, but near the edges, it gets loose, it's not as dense or compact.
That's true.
So if you see yourself crossing over a center line, and you start to rumble, or you see potholes in the center line, that's because the joints are not made real solid, like the center of the road.
We should just have Harry go out and we don't need Tina.
Could save-
I don't know how much
I know
that
what I'm
machine
telling
costs. But I do know when I've been
I
on the
know what
road
you're talking
projects,
about.
that
I
the
know.
guy drives up with his vehicle, and
I know.
that's the big thing. He opens his truck and he's got the machine to put down, and then he's got to do the recording of it.
Thanks, Harry.
Yeah. Thank you. And then, what are the hazards that we're talking about mitigating? What hazards are we helping to mitigate?
Any hazard, any
Any.
hazard that.
Any hazard.
Any hazard, but what is any hazard?
What we do with the
Hurricane.
storm, the floods.
Right.
Oh, it's like FEMA.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, it's
You gotta
having a
have a plan.
plan on what to do and things
Oh,
that
that
happens again.
part.
Yeah. That's what it is, it's the county is.
Emergency management.
Yes.
You have to have an
It's
emergency.
more emergency management
It's
than
more emergency
has.
management and, actual areas that may be more susceptible and maybe more communities that may be more susceptible in disasters for socioeconomic reasons, and then you have.
How about Cranford?
Yeah, and then,
What?
yeah,
Yeah.
floodplains,
Yeah.
Elizabeth, the port, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's what that is.
Okay, I'm planning to see you next Monday at the one-seat
Good.
ride.
Good.
Hoping
Bring
I
a
can
couple
speak.
people.
Oh, one more thing.
Yes.
I spoke at John Bramnick's cybersecurity at Kane University yesterday.
Oh, good.
Yes, and cybersecurity is a great big unknown thing with a lot of absent rules, regulations. The industry hasn't really gotten itself together yet. It's really a nascent industry. It's not like our old-time engineering that's been working for hundreds of years building up our specifications and standards and so forth. So he did a great job of pulling together people, and they'll work on things, and they'll be working on some laws. I followed up at the end of public speaking, saying I wanted to change the subject slightly, because I am so, I'm going to use a bad word, damn bothered by these callers, these robocallers, when I'm on a do not call list, that both the state of New Jersey and the federal government say is supposed to work. I mean, it'd be nice, they passed the law that these robocallers aren't supposed to be making calls to me. And if they do, I rarely get a robocall where there's a live person. And the rule is if it's a robocall to somebody even that isn't on the do not call list, I think they're supposed to have a live person. So that industry, and Donna, oh shucks, her last name, she's a Republican though, but she's from Reddington, so what's that district, 17? She's in the assembly.
Okay. I don't know.
Nice woman, she used to live in Hillside. So she's in charge of this, and then John Bramnick referred me to an aide, the legislative aide, who is to get me connected to the Attorney General's office,
Okay.
because I have a list of all the people.
Okay, well, if
that
you
have
don't
me-
hear from them, let me know. And I can.
Yeah, no, I'll be here, follow up, and,
Yep.
but,
Call me
and
anytime,
you
Terry.
folks
Don't
can
have to come at
support the do not call list and,
Yep.
and the enforcement of it, because that's what's happened. We just don't enforce the thing.
Right.
And scare those bad people. Or those people doing bad things.
There you go. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is what we're going to applaud. All right, so that, can I have a motion to close the meeting to the public? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have an executive session on the agenda, which we do not need.
That's a
So
pleasant surprise.
we don't need to go into executive session. And I will just put a plug in for the upcoming Halloween parade, which is on Halloween, on 31st, Friday.
How strange.
Friday, and we meet at the Fanwood Memorial Library. And we hope to see you out there as we march into the Grand Park for a wonderful costume contest with pumpkin carving contests and cider and donuts. So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.